Hi, everyone. Hey, DonYé.
Hi, Dani, and hello to
Hi.
everybody in the chat. I'm seeing so many locations. This is crazy.
Yeah, so crazy. Well, lovely to meet everyone. Just a quick intro. So I'm Dani. I am a design recruiter at Canva, and I've been at Canva for almost 3 years now. So super excited to talk to you about portfolios today, as it's something that I do on a daily basis. So very, very excited. Over
Yes.
to you, Donny.
Thank you, Dani. I'm DonYé Taylor. I am a consultant and a creative strategist. I've been doing consulting professionally almost for 10 years now. I really like work that's rooted in authenticity, and I love telling authentic stories of my clients. And I'm really excited to dive into all the different elements that can help make your portfolio stand out so that you guys can get hired for all the cool creative jobs that you want. So yeah, I'm excited to be here. And I live in LA. I saw a few people that put in the chat that they're in LA. I live here. So shout out to LA.
Yeah, and I'm actually from London, but living in Sydney. So whilst you're all joining from around the globe, I feel super fortunate to be based in Gadigal country here in Australia. So before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of, and knowledge holders of the land now called Sydney, where our Canberra head office is based, and where I am speaking to you from today. I would also like to pay my respect to all elders, past, present, and emerging. And I would like to extend that respect to any Indigenous people who are with us on Zoom today. So we've already seen some of this already, but would love to hear where everyone is graduating from. We know it's the season. College Station, Texas, love it. NC State Uni, India. Yes, so awesome to see so many different places. Congratulations, and so exciting. So I just wanted to give you a bit of an insight into Canva. Some of you may be familiar, but some of you may not. So to set the scene a little bit, we are entering the era of the visual economy. So everything is very visual. And the importance of communicating visually is becoming increasingly important in everything that we do. Demand for content has scaled. We're seeing brands that are needing to pump out more and more content on a daily, hourly, weekly, whatever basis, and need to ensure that they're maintaining that quality and consistency with their content. So the demand for content is just going to continue to increase. But the key for creative success is scaling your craft. So as a creative, you don't want to be the one pumping out loads and loads of content. You want to make sure you're honing and scaling your craft. And at Canva, we want to make it really easy for you to scale content and empower creatives like you to scale your craft and focus on what you love doing. Our mission is to empower the world to design. And we want to do this by empowering everyone to design anything, publish anywhere with every ingredient in every language on every device. Previously, design tools, as you probably know, were super fragmented and only available to pros. From finding fonts to stock photography and then selecting the right tool for what you want to achieve and then saving the content somewhere else so someone has access to it and then distributing it to whoever needs it, to your clients. The process was super fragmented and having multiple tools was super, super costly. So we pulled it all into one place with the Visual Work Suite, and I'll just play a little video for you. I'm seeing a few people saying no sound, but hopefully you got to see all the amazing things that we've done and have been creating, and the visual work suite that you can use in Canva today. So, bit of background on Canva. It's been an incredible journey, and we really feel like we're only 1% of the way there. Canva launched almost 10 years ago, so it's nearly our birthday, our 10th birthday. And in that time, we've scaled to over 3,500 employees, and have offices now in 8 different countries. Our headquarters, as I mentioned earlier, are based in Sydney. And a little bit of an overview of the numbers. So 125 million, and this still blows my mind, 125 million people are using Canva on a monthly basis. 15 billion designs are created or have been created, and that's 200 designs a second. And I also love that we're in 100 languages and in 190 countries. It's so awesome to see everyone all over the world using Canva. Also super proud to be female founded and led. And one of our core values is to be a force for good. And we do this through our 2-step plan. So step 1 is to become the most valuable company in the world. And then step 2 is to do the most good that we can. And we really believe that one doesn't happen without the other. So step 1 fuels step 2, and it keeps going. They feed into each other. And this is just a little bit of the goodness that we are doing to try and live our values. The biggest one being pledging to give away 30% all of Canva to Force for Good and social impact causes, which I love. As the sound may not be working, I will pause the video for now and we'll send around the deck after so everyone can have a look at this. But 2023 was a big year for us. Oh, sound is working maybe for some people. So okay, cool. Let me play the video.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. We are incredibly excited to welcome each and every one of you to our second Canva Create.
From around the globe, there are over 1.5 million people tuning in today.
We are here to unveil what this new era of AI-powered design looks like. And to welcome the magic happens, introducing Magic Presentation. Magic Presentation.
Translate, one central place to manage and market your brand.
You can now access Magic right across the entire visual suite.
So as you can see from that video, 2023 was a huge year for us. In March, we launched a brand new era. And at the heart of that was really empowering creatives. So today's focus is how we can empower you at the beginning of your career. So what we're going to cover today, 4 different topics. So firstly being consider your audience. Secondly, building your personal brand. And then thirdly, how to bring it to life. And then lastly, sprinkling in those moments of surprise and delight. And I'm super excited to have DonYé here today as a very successful creative. She has so many amazing tips and nuggets on all of these topics. So excited.
Yes.
That she's here. And I will hand over to DonYé because like I mentioned, she has a ton of lived experience in the creative space. So
yes.
Over to DonYé.
Yeah, so the first tip here, number 1, is considering your audience. Considering your audience is so important because you need to know who it is that you're talking to and who your creative work is going to be seen by. Your audience is not your family, it's not your friends. Your audience are recruiters, hiring managers, and most importantly, other creatives. So you want to think about each of these different pillars and what their focus is when they're looking at your portfolio to really reverse engineer how you're going to design your portfolio so that the information inside of it is valuable and useful to each one of these different verticals. So you want to also keep in mind that your audience does not have a lot of time. I mean, I don't think anybody has a lot of time anymore. So you want to really be mindful of the information that you're putting in your portfolio, and you want to make it concise so that if somebody does not have a lot of time, they can skim through your portfolio and still get the meat of your portfolio without giving it too much time. So that's number one. You also want to keep in mind that your audience, they're looking through portfolios on a daily basis, sometimes 10 to 15 a day. The number can vary, but you want to make sure that your portfolio stands out amongst the ones that they're looking through. The last thing is these people that are looking at their portfolios, they're managing and they're working on a lot of different projects all at one time, and they're wearing a lot of hats. So you want to make sure that the information in your portfolio is not too overwhelming. You want to make sure that it's concise, it's to the point, and it accurately displays who you are, not only as a creative, but as a person as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a recruiter myself, I can 100% vouch for that. First of all, you have very little time. And secondly, or just going to the last point, I'm managing like 10 to 15 roles at any given time. It's so important that like you spell out your work and what you can do. So a little stat that I love is 80% of recruiters spend 3 minutes or less looking at your portfolio. And I have to admit, I think this has got a lot less for me as I go further into my career as well. So I'm definitely guilty of this. After looking at thousands of portfolios, I know what I'm looking for. And also I wanted to call out that one of our values at Canva is making complex things simple. And I always think when I'm looking at a portfolio, if I'm struggling to find the information that I'm looking for and have to search around for it, or the information isn't spelled out, it just poses immediate questions into my mind as to whether the candidate is firstly going to be aligned to values, and secondly, whether they're going to add value to the product, especially when we want it to be this super simple tool that everyone can use. Back to you, DonYé.
I love that. I'm so happy that you were able to chime in on that, especially since you do look at a lot of portfolios. So shout out to you. It also sounds like you need to raise all those different jobs you're doing. But the second step here is to make an impression with your portfolio. I kind of touched on this on the last tip, but you want to make sure that you're really, really clear on what it is that you do and the services that you provide as a creative. Type a 1 in the chat if you just do one creative service, but type a 2 if you are a multifaceted creative. Okay, so pretty much oh wow, a lot of people in here do more than one thing. So you want to make sure that the services that you provide, they're extremely clear. I will also try to think about how you can minimize those services. So say if you do photography, creative direction, set design, think about how you can put all of those under one umbrella so that it's easy for the reader to understand what it is that you're doing, but also as a creative, you don't feel like you're leaving anything out. Be succinct. So you don't need a paragraph to communicate what it is that you do. You want to make sure that you're using really condensed sentences. Bullet points are like my best friend. I feel like it allows me to get a lot of information out in a very easy way without it being really overwhelming to the reader. And last but not least, make it count. I'm sure you all have plenty of projects that you've worked on. You've probably been creating for a really long time, but think about those projects that are really, really special to you and reflect not only the creative that you are right now, but the type of creative that you want to be in the future and where you want to go with your career. Remember, people are looking at your portfolio to hire you, so make sure that you're displaying the work that you want to get hired for. in your portfolio so that you have more pride when you're sending these emails out and attaching your portfolios and things like that.
Yeah. And I just wanted to jump in there, like, especially starting out as a creative, you really want to hone in on the few things that you can do really well and bring that value to the businesses and show what value you can bring, rather than, as DonYé said, showing a ton of different things. So next up is building your personal brand. And again, I'm going to throw it over to DonYé, as you have so much experience in this space. So we'd love for you to share your experience.
So I think this is probably like my favorite part of this presentation, only because personal branding, I think, is something that I've always been really big on since the beginning of my creative career, a little over 10 years ago. But I feel like personal branding just became like one of those like creative buzzwords a few years ago. But personal branding is so important for creatives, because I'm gonna just get straight to the point. There's multiple people out there that do exactly what it is that you do, but there's not a lot of people out there who are exactly who you are. So you want to make sure that you have a personal brand that depicts who you are as a creative and as a person. At the end of the day, people are looking at your portfolio to hire you for your creative services, but it's still a human to human interaction. Humans love connecting to stories, emotions, and things like that. So really tap into who you are as a creative, what makes you you, and how those elements of who you are trickle down into your creative work. And I guarantee you, doing that will make it so much more easier for people to hire you. And you can really feel when somebody has a genuine passion and love for what it is that they do through the work that they display. So make sure that you're using your personal brand to include all those different elements in your portfolio to help you stand out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this over here is a screenshot from a portfolio that I designed in Canva for this presentation. I really want to focus on how you can use Canva to show your brand and also build your brand, and use it as a way to communicate visually who you are and the work that you can create. I think it goes without saying that about me's, bios, all of these different things can get really hard to write, but they're really important because they show who you are as a person. It's really kind of hard to do that with images sometimes. So I love using words to do this. And I actually wrote this with the Magic Write tool that is inside of Canva. So type a 1 in the chat if you've ever used AI, and type a 2 in the chat if you have never used AI before. Okay, so a few people are familiar with AI, some aren't. Okay, so Canva, you know, they're just up on all the new updates, and they do a really good job of integrating technology into creativity. So this Magic Write tool is an AI tool that creatives can use to get a little extra inspiration. You can use it to write your about me, your mission statements, things like that. And you don't have to stick to what Canva writes. You can just use it as a head start. You can go in, swap out different words, things like that. But I love this tool that is inside of Canva. You can use it to pretty much write anything. I use it to write my about me. I feel like it's so hard to write about me, especially if you do a lot of different creative work. So definitely lean on the Magic Write tool to be able to express yourself with words when you can't do that with images.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the hardest things is the blank page. And I think Canva's just so good at helping you not start from that blank page. So as DonYé said, you don't have to use exactly what Magic Write gives you, but use it as a starting point. Use it so that you're not starting from a blank page.
Yep.
And that's the overall gist with Canva. Like, use Canva to cut through the noise, like embrace the power of design, and use photos, infographics, videos, and even sound to tell your story. So you can use all of these different elements to build your story.
Yep.
DonYé, I'd love to ask, like, how else other than Magic Write have you been using Canva in your portfolio?
I think one of my favorite things is the ability to basically turn your portfolio into something that can live outside of a file with the ability to like share it with the link. So it's a couple of people actually, I put it on my Instagram stories this morning. People were saying, oh, like, can your portfolio replace a website and vice versa? I've been getting my website redesigned for the last several months, but Canva has allowed me to still be able to promote my work, even though I don't have a website, by having the link that I can share with people. And I love that link because somebody clicks that link, even if I've made an update in my portfolio, if they click that link, that link will automatically be updated with whatever content that I made. So I think that's one of my favorite things about using Canva for my portfolio. The other element I would say, and I think this is at the end, but I love using GIFs. Like GIFs are so cool and they add so much personality. This is really big for me because I love my personality and I try to figure out how I can show my personality in anything that I do, and GIFs are a great way to do that. And Canva just makes it so seamless with that Giphy integration. There's been times on other programs I tried to use a GIF and then it didn't pop up. Like it's nothing more embarrassing than like just a frozen GIF. So I love how Canva just allows you to use GIFs and it's super seamless and they integrate really well onto the portfolios.
Yeah, awesome. I think one of my favorite things is to build your brand is the brand kit. So in Canva, you can essentially build your own personal brand kit, and you can use this for your portfolio and your other assets. And you can actually create a website in Canva, and I'll talk through that in a little bit. But you can pick your fonts, you can pick your colors, you can add a logo, and then you can just use that brand kit to make sure that it's consistent across all of your designs. Yeah. So love that feature.
Okay, so passing it back over to me, drop a 1 in the chat if you have a hard time trying to figure out what it is that you want to include in your portfolio.
Lots of ones.
Okay, lots and lots and lots of ones. Okay, these 4 is what I love to start out with. I feel like creative momentum is everything when you're working on anything creative. So I just like start with doing things that are really easy for me to execute, and then I can build off of that. So the first one, you want to talk about who you are. Again, going back and tying in the personal branding aspect, really thinking about how your personality can tie into the art that you make and how you can use words to really communicate that. So that's number 1. Your skills. So for all my multifaceted creatives that are watching this, think about 3 to 4 skills that you can really hone in on. And those 3 to 4 skills kind of express who you are as a creative the best. They don't have to hit every single mark, but really just the ones that you want to focus on as it relates to the work that you want to get hired for. The third one is contact details. This may seem pretty self-explanatory, but I cannot tell you how many times I've looked at portfolios or even myself, like I've sent out certain things, whether it's a media kit, and I don't have my contact information on there. So you want to make sure that any way somebody can get in contact with you, whether that's email, LinkedIn, DM, whatever type of message, they can do that by looking at your portfolio. And you want to make sure this is really easy to find. You kind of want to shy away from little tiny icons, just expecting the user to know that looking at a mail envelope means that's your email. So I always like to have a contact page, and I try to put my contact information anywhere that I can. And last but not least, projects. You don't need to have every single project that you've done as a creator, but you really want to focus on the projects that you take pride in as a creative, and those projects should reflect the type of work that you want to get hired for. It's no point really in putting projects in your portfolio for work that you don't want to get hired for, because that's how you get into the cycle of doing a bunch of work for people that you don't like. So I like to include like 1 personal project and 2 or 3 main projects from my clients to really show the reader what it is that I can do as a creative, but also stuff that I take pride in.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of double down on a few things that you said there, I think you've mentioned it a few times, but just showcasing 3 or 4 skills and just showcasing the projects that you're proud of. One of the most common things that we see as recruiters with junior or candidates that are just starting out in the creative world is wanting to show so many things and wanting to show all of the different things that they can. That makes it confusing. Again, cut through the noise, pick your 3 to 4 things, 3 to 4 projects, like try and simplify it. So great points there, DonYé.
So next up, how to show your value. Value is really, really important to me, and it should be important to all of you all that are listening, because anybody can pretty much do a creative service. It's, you know, like if you have a camera, that automatically makes you a photographer if you shoot. But what makes you a great photographer is if your photos have value. And over to the right, I'm going to go through each one of these bullets to kind of explain how you can showcase your value through your creative work. So number 1, the brief. I love including briefs in my portfolio because it kind of sets the scene to the reader, kind of outlines what the project is so they can kind of put themselves in my shoes just for this time being. The second bullet is your role in the project. There's been so many times where I have been listed as a creative director or a strategist or something different than a consultant, but I love outlining my role in a project because it really shows just how multifaceted I am as a creative and how I approach different creative work. And again, this is what helps you stand out. So going back to the photographer example, if you worked on a project and not only did you do the photography, but you did the set design, maybe you helped creative directed, maybe you worked with the stylist that was on this project to help, dress your subject, include that in there. Also include the client that you worked with. Again, this gives context to the project. Any problems that you've solved with your work. This is one of my favorite things to include when it comes to my portfolio, because a lot of people that don't work in the creative industry, sometimes they just look at creativity as just that. It's just creativity, not knowing that the work that we do as creatives actually solves real life problems. So I really want you all to kind of think outside the box and think about the problems that the art that you create solve. Maybe that was saving somebody time. Maybe it helped somebody illustrate their vision a little bit better. Maybe it helped somebody launch their brand. Anything that you think that your art solved, or any problem that you think your art solved, make sure that you include that. Final output, this kind of goes into the storytelling component. I love when I'm able to illustrate what the project was at when I first started, and then how my work led to the final output or the finish line. People love being brought along for journeys and stories, and this is a great way to do that. Impact is another one. This kind of goes hand in hand in the problems that you solved. So think about how much impact your art has had either on your client or your audience. Try to figure out a way that you can depict this in a way that really evokes emotion and feeling. Everybody wants everything to be impactful. And if you are able to show that your work provides impact, that is huge brownie points. And last but not least, learnings. I love this element because people like numbers and people like information. People love feeling like they are educated on something new. So use this time to educate your audience on some things that maybe you learned through this creative project, or things that you will take from this creative project and use in the future.
Yeah, we love learning here at Canva, and we also love talking about impact. So definitely those two things. I also wanted to loop back to that final output and just really telling your story. It's really important that you also show that final output at the beginning of your project. If you remember back to the slide of your audience being time poor, if they're just skimming through your portfolio, they want to see the final output of the project and a little summary first of all. So make sure you give them that information and box it up at the top first before you go into the detail of the project. Personal projects, DonYé, I know you're super passionate about this.
Yes. So I actually reached a point in my career, I would say about a year and a half ago, where I was just doing a lot of work that I didn't really feel that passionate about. So it was paying the bills, you know, but I got to a point, I'm like, wow, I'm doing all this work behind the scenes, but I don't want to post any of it. I don't want to show any of it because I didn't take pride in it. This is when the light bulb went off and I'm like, wow, all of the things that I want to get hired for and things that I want to do, I can look at myself as a client. And I really want to challenge you all to think about how you can use personal projects to get back in that creative groove again, get to a place where your creativity, where you actually take pride in your work. So this is a personal project that I did back in February. I did this thing around Valentine's Day where I was just talking about how many creatives just have creative anxiety when it comes to producing work and putting it out on the internet. We get really scared when it comes to showcasing the work that we do, and it can make us not want to promote ourselves. So somebody just put their hand up in the chat. But so what I did was I wrote an ebook on this. It's called How to Break Up with Your Creative Anxiety. And I did an entire creative project on this. I did cover art for my ebook. I did a mini campaign, a mini rollout. It was so much put into this project, but this was a personal project of mine. And I got so many good emails and reviews from the way that I did it. People started reaching out to me and saying, oh, DonYé, I love how you marketed your ebook. Can you market something similar to me? So this put me in a position where, you know, people were asking me to do things for them that I actually did for myself, that I actually enjoyed doing. So this is why personal projects really go a long way. And not only is it good for your creativity, it's an investment in yourself and in your creative career. So I would definitely recommend doing that and thinking about how you can incorporate more personal projects into your portfolio.
Yeah, I'm seeing so much love for your ebook coming through.
Oh,
so.
Thank you guys.
It has definitely helped people. And just a little reminder, pop any questions that you have in the Q&A and we'll loop back to them at the end. How to bring it to life. I've seen a couple of people asking how Canva can help or how you can use Canva. So we want to share with you how you can use the visual suites to bring your portfolio to life. And as you can see, there's lots of different options here. So there's not just one option for you to bring your portfolio to life. You can start with a whiteboard, start really lo-fi, and then you can change it into a presentation. And then within one click, you can change your presentation into a website. So my tip is to start with a presentation and use the amazing portfolio templates that we have. Be really purposeful with your templates. Be really purposeful with what you're choosing. Choose the most inspiring and diverse designs from our library that feel relevant to you and your work. One format that we are seeing more and more of in the recruitment world is websites. So the really, really exciting product and something that I have been using personally so much and seeing so many more candidates using as well is Canva websites. You need zero technical knowledge to bring a website to life. And the best thing is, if you've created your portfolio in a presentation format in Canva, like I mentioned earlier, in one click, you can turn it into a website and then just adapt the content. It is so easy to do, and you don't have to pay hundreds of dollars to do it. And it's, like I mentioned, done in literally minutes.
I'm sorry, Dani. I wanted to say something.
Jump in.
I wish you guys would have asked me to do this course like 4 months ago before I started planning and paying a website designer to do my website. I love this feature. And another hack with creating your portfolio, if you still do want a website, and you want to create your website on Canva, starting with your portfolio is a great way to do that because it kind of organizes your projects for you. So each page that you design on your portfolio can be a page on your website as well. So I know website designing can get a little intimidating, but I always find that making a portfolio first really helps with that.
Yeah, and start simple. Start with a one-pager. Like you'll see if you translate your presentation into a website on Canva, it will just bring it up in one page. That's totally fine. Arrange it like a story. Build your story on that one page. So it doesn't need to be a really complex thing. Start small and then build from there. The benefits of using a website is that it's up to date, so you can constantly edit it. One thing that I see in the recruitment world is lots of companies have databases where they will have their candidates like information and portfolios stored on. If you send them a PDF, that could be a few years old when they revisit your profile. So using a website and ensuring it's up to date makes it easier for recruiters to see what you are doing currently and make sure that they're not confused with who you used to be, because we know that the creative world evolves so quickly. You also don't need to worry about out-of-date PDFs, like I mentioned before, and also uploading those PDFs to different portals and whatever. You can just send through your links. And it's a great way to stand out. There's so many different add-ons that you can put on your website. I just saw someone pop in the chat as well about your contact details. One of the beautiful things about Canva websites is that you can actually add a passcode to it as well. So you can have that key to who can see it. So if you have any more sensitive projects on there, you can also use the password feature, which is great. This is one of my favorite things, and we talk about it a lot in Canva, but adding moments of surprise and delight into your portfolio. As a creative, you would do this a lot in your work. So bring that into your portfolio, which is the window to you and your work. One thing that I love, and I'm going to try and do it live here, is that on Canva presentations, you can actually do some confetti. Typically, presentations have been pretty static, but I think it's such a lovely addition that doesn't need to be there, but it makes that experience of giving a presentation super special and hopefully builds some feelings. I know there's also some other things that you can do on there as well, but I'm going to do some more confetti. But yeah, it's awesome, and it's not needed is the point, but it really adds that extra moment of delight. DonYé, I know you are passionate about reviews.
Yes, and I'm going to add something onto the last slide that you did too about moments of delight. I don't know if you guys noticed, but while I was presenting to you all, I asked certain questions to kind of identify who's listening. This is a really good thing to do if you're presenting your portfolio to more than one person, asking things like, oh, like drop a 1 if you like this, or drop a 2 if you did this. You can combine the effects that Canva has, such as the drum roll or bubbles or confetti, to kind of set the stage for those questions that you're about to answer. And it really keeps your keeps the readers and whoever's like listening to you engaged, and it makes it fun. There's nothing like when somebody feels like they're seen. So I love using Canva to do that as well. And we can go to the next slide.
I'm just going on the effects. So
oh yeah, the bubbles are cute. I love reviews, and going back to the topic talking about value, reviews really show how it was working with you. And I do this with all of my clients when we're done working on a project. I like to ask them questions about how working with me and my team has made them feel. There's so many times that I have been on a creative project and I've worked with a creative and it wasn't really a pleasant experience. So I love using reviews to show how working with me and my team is a pleasant experience for all parties involved. At the end of the day, yes, you are providing a creative service, but humans, people is the common denominator here. You want to make sure that you are just as easy to work with and you're just as great to work with as your art is. So you want to make sure that both of those are combined, and reviews are a great way to do this. So if you guys don't already have reviews on your portfolio, or if you don't have reviews currently, try to go back and think about some people that you've worked with recently and see if they will give you a review. It can be something quick like an email, or it could be a video, but really just showcasing what it's like to work with you from a creative perspective. It can go a long way, and it shows the value that you bring as a creative. And Canva has so many templates to help you do that, such as, I love this one at the top right, because I think we all look at reviews and correlate them to stars. Like, I like eating at restaurants that have 4 stars and up. So think of yourself as a nice restaurant. Like, you want to have 4 or 5 stars or better to really show that your audience and the people that are looking at your portfolio, they have faith and trust in hiring you.
Yeah. And it takes work, it takes effort to ask your clients for reviews as well. So make sure that you include them and make them the hero for sure.
Somebody said this workshop makes me want to burn my already existing portfolio to the ground and start over.
Well, Canva will make it really easy for you to start over. So if you do feel like that afterwards, at least you don't have to start from nothing.
Yes. So going back to the GIFs, I love GIFs, and Canva has a Giphy integration, which makes it really easy to add memes and GIFs. I feel like GIFs, I don't really count GIFs as pages or content. I just count it as something completely different. So if I have a page that just has a GIF on it, I'm not counting that. It's kind of like breaking through all of the job and like creative jargon, and it just gives people something to connect with. So I love this feature that Canva has. If you don't have a GIF in your portfolio, definitely try to add one, and just think about how you can add GIFs within your portfolio. And Canva is a great way to do that.
Yeah, we're no longer in the static age, so your portfolio doesn't have to be static. So adding in those elements and those GIFs are just a great way to inject personality, and something that again is not needed. So it's that moment of surprise, especially if you add a RuPaul one in. So going on to our final little thing that we're going to leave you with, and that is things to remember. So some guiding principles for you here. So first of all, show work that demonstrates where you want to go.
I can kind of touch on this part here. You want to, as you think about your creative career, your portfolio is your past work, yes, but this past work is really going to help you in the future, and it's going to help get you gigs and jobs in the future. So try to do 2 things at one time. You're showing your past, but you also want to illustrate where you want to go as a creative in the future. So think about your work and your portfolio through that lens.
Yeah, absolutely. And number 2 is simplicity and clarity. It goes back to as you're entering the creative world, don't overcomplicate it. Take it back to the core. Take it back to those key things and those key principles of who you are, and show that work. We have a design principle in Canva, which is to weigh up every line. And when we talk about a line, it's not just words, but really think about every single detail and every single thing that you are putting into your portfolio, and make sure that it's simple and clear.
I think I could do 3, Dani, if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
So the reason why I said this, because like reading it triggered me because before I started using Canva, I have like design OCD. So again, I'm going to do the 1-2 thing again. If you're somebody who is like really particular on how things look, like sectioning, spacing, drop a 1. If you're somebody that's a little bit more laxed, drop a 2. Okay, so a lot of people are really particular how things look. Okay, so if you typed a 1, you've probably have worked on something and you've spent an insane amount of time just worrying about spacing or sizing, AKA the stuff that in the grand scheme of things really does not matter, but it matters to you in that moment. I want you all to let Canva worry about all of those little tedious things. Canva's templates are designed to save you a lot of time when it comes to formatting, sizing, spacing, so that you have more time to focus on telling your story and making sure that what you're creating is reflective of the work that you want to do and who you are as a creative.
Yeah, I'm going to let you talk to 4 as well, because I know you have some bits of info on that.
So going back to when you all typed in the chat that a lot of you all are multifaceted, you want to show the diversity of your projects and your clients. Sometimes people look at multifaceted as being a negative or a con, but I think in this creative world, it's actually your strength. And I don't want you guys to shy away from showing that you do multiple things and that you do wear a variety of hats. So make sure that your portfolio is diverse in projects and clients, just like how you are diverse when it comes to the work that you create.
Yeah, awesome. And then DonYé's talked about this, but focus on the value and impact that you will bring to each role. So really add those extra bits of value in. And I know, DonYé, you've got some thoughts on this as well.
Yes, so this is really, really important to me, and I want it to be important to all of you guys out there as well. Try to really communicate the impact and the value that your art has. Like, I'm pretty sure all of it looks good, but make sure it feels good to whoever's looking at it. You want your art to kind of feel like a breath of fresh air, and you want somebody to create this connection with your art where they think, oh my gosh, I need to hire this girl, or I need to hire this guy to shoot my wedding video. Like that is what you want your portfolio to give once somebody's looking through it, and value is a great way to do that and to ensure that your portfolio has that impression on whoever is looking at it.
And then finally, to wrap it up, just remember to inspire and delight throughout. So wherever you can, wherever you possibly can, without overcomplicating it, just sprinkle in those touches that aren't needed, but just add that extra moment that is going to make people really connect with you. Because as we all know, and DonYé mentioned it earlier, but that human to human connection is so important. So yes, add that in wherever you can. And that's it. So we are going to move on to the Q&A. So I see quite a few questions coming through.
Yeah, quite a few. So I'm going to pop in here and ask the questions. So the first one comes from Aaron. Should you create multiple versions of your portfolio, or can there be a catch-all version?
Okay, so this is a great question, and it's something that I deal with, especially more on the content creator side. So I have 3 different types of content that I create. I have educational content, I also have lifestyle content, which is more so like fashion based. And then I have like work content. So whenever I'm pitching to brands, if I know that a brand is in a specific category, I will pitch my portfolio or my deck that is more catered towards what it is that they do. So again, going back to the first slide about knowing your audience. So if you do have multiple versions that are catered towards multiple things and you're pitching it, or you want to show somebody specifically that, then you can do that. Or if you are just pitching your portfolio and you just want somebody to hire you for one of those 3 things, then you can do a catch-all. It just all depends on your preference and the desired outcome that you want from the interaction. So I hope that helped.
Yeah, I would just add to that as well. I think you could have a website as your catch-all, and then you could have specific docs that you send when you apply for a role, or you're like going for particular job that is more specific to what you're going for. And just looping it back to Canva as well, like it makes it so easy to create different versions of your portfolio, but just make sure whatever you're sharing publicly is showing all of your facets, because if people just come across you through social media or elsewhere, it's really important that they're seeing everything that you can do.
Cool. The next question comes from Ron. He says, how do you balance form over function as far as making something that's eye-catching, but not overproducing a portfolio so that it comes off as too processed?
This is a really good question. Ron, if you're listening, can you type what it is that you do? If not, I'm going to use like just a random example of a creative service. Okay, looks like Ron may have stepped out. But if you are trying to, career changing into graphic design. Oh, okay. This is going to be really easy for you, Ron, because you do graphic design. I feel like graphic design is one of the more easier professions to have a great portfolio in, because your work literally speaks for itself. I think the way that you can balance it is by really focusing on the problems that your graphic design is solving and maybe how you got to a place of that project that you feel comfortable with. I love looking at graphic designers' process because it really shows their approach to design. And I think that this can kind of help you shy away from overproducing a portfolio and working on something that's just a little too design heavy. The text and the wording and those different elements about your design process, I think, can balance it all out. But that would be my advice to you.
Yeah. And think of all the different elements of your portfolio as your graphic design. So I'm sure there's lots of principles that you're learning and things like that. So in terms of form, I think that's really important that you think about it as this holistic piece. So yeah, I think it's a balancing act, but your first draft and your first portfolio doesn't have to be your final either.
Mm-hmm.
Great advice. The next one's from Keisha. She says, what do you suggest for creatives who want to build their portfolios but haven't had any clients just yet?
This is a great question, and I'm going to tell you guys what I used to do before I had clients. I used to do these things where I would just imagine, me being delusional. Oh, like this is what I would do if Beyonce hired me to do X, Y, and Z. Like I would literally take concepts that I had in my mind and frame it as what I would do if I was hired, to kind of show the type of work that I'm able to do, but also my approach to strategy and consulting. So I want you to think about the work that you would want to create, or think about somebody that you would want to get hired by, and then try to reverse engineer that and think about how you can show that via your portfolio, and really just pick out all the different elements that you've integrated that makes that you, to really show what it would be like if somebody were to hire you. I think this is a great tool and a great way to show that. And I think this can be used for pretty much any creative vertical. If you're a photographer, maybe there's a photo shoot or a style of photos that you want to do, maybe creating a mood board, giving that photo shoot a theme, how you would style it, things like that really is a great way to showcase your work, even if you haven't had a client hire you for that. And also personal projects are a great way to do that as well. Treat yourself like a client. Sometimes, some people just need to see what it is that you can do before they want to hire you to do it. So just try to think outside the box when it comes to those two tips. And I wish you good luck.
Amazing. The next one is for Dani, comes from Maria. Maria asks, what items are you looking for or jump out to you when reviewing a portfolio in just 3 minutes or less?
Yeah, it's a good question.
I'm sorry. Oh, wait, this is for Dani. Duh. Sorry.
That's fine. We can share. I've shared yours. I would say definitely the final output is really important as a creative, but I also want to know the impact that you've had and the impact that you've brought to that specific project. So I know we've talked about it quite a lot today, but I think that's really important. I think the clients that you've worked for, and just it's just the overall look and feel as well. So it is that holistic portfolio that you're sending through that's really important. So making sure that it's cohesive, it's aligned with the kind of work that you would do. So a bit of a long-winded answer, but I would say, yeah, the final output and the impact are the two most important things. And your contact details. You would be amazed at how many people don't actually put their contact details and make them really obvious. So make sure that you're enabling people to find your work as well and find you.